Welcome to This Explainer, where we're going to deconstruct some truly fascinating source material detailing the chilling trajectory of Kim Yo-jong. We're looking at a pretty remarkable transformation here. We're going to trace her path from what looked like a seemingly docile, quiet assistant hovering in the background of North Korean state media to a figure that experts now warn might just be the world's most dangerous woman. So let's break down exactly how she quietly spun a web of absolute power, all while the rest of the world was completely distracted by her smile.
To really understand why geopolitical experts warn against taking her lightly, we have to start with her own words. Just listen to her characterization of the South Korean president as a scared, barking dog, or her blistering description of the U.S. president as a senile old man without a future. Seeing these quotes instantly shatters that whole illusion of the innocent, smiling sibling, right? These definitely aren't the words of a background assistant. These are highly aggressive, incredibly calculated statements from a powerful leader actively marking her territory.
Let's kick things off with Section 1, the smiling assistant. Now, the origin of her extreme secrecy is honestly fascinating. Sources indicate that back in 1996, she was sent off to study in Bern, Switzerland. But she wasn't exactly living there as royalty. Actually, she lived under a completely fake name, Pak Mi-ha-young. She and her brother essentially posed as the normal, everyday children of embassy workers, just living in a regular apartment. But behind that ordinary facade, they were under constant, heavy monitoring by undercover state guards and relatives. She essentially spent her formative years literally playing a role, heavily guarded, and acting out a totally fabricated life.
And it's brilliant how that acting just naturally continued into adulthood. When she finally debuted to the world at her father's funeral in 2011, nobody had a clue who she was. For years, the world just saw her as this seemingly harmless, obedient sister. I mean, she was famously photographed just walking around holding an ashtray for her chain-smoking brother, Supreme Leader Kim Jong-un. But make no mistake, this was a highly calculated performance. Behind that submissive posture, there was a massive state apparatus already backing her every single move.
Moving right along to Section 2, Mastering the State Propaganda.
Her rapid ascent to power is just staggering. By 2012, at roughly 23 years old, she wasn't just fetching ashtrays anymore. She was directly managing the Supreme Leader's intricate travel routes and his personal security. And then, by 2014, she was officially named the Vice Director of the Propaganda and Agitation Department. Think about that. In a highly patriarchal society, she took full control of the state propaganda machine. She effectively became the architect of her brother's godlike public image. She wasn't just a participant in this regime, she was actively shaping its entire reality.
Then came what you could call her absolute masterpiece of public relations. In 2018, she represented North Korea at the Winter Olympics over in South Korea. This was totally historic. She became the first North Korean royal to step foot on South Korean soil since the 1953 armistice. She attended dinners, delivered secret letters, and used this incredibly radiant, polite smile to project a profoundly softened image of the regime to the global media. And honestly, a lot of the world bought it, hoping for a genuine thaw in relations.
But let's look at what the analysts actually say about this. Experts firmly believe this diplomatic mission was nothing but a highly calculated trap. It was just a brilliant piece of propaganda. That famous smile we all saw, it was deployed strategically to mask the regime's true, unyielding intentions and essentially just buy them some time on the global stage.
Which brings us to Section 3, The Iron Lady Emerges.
So, in April 2020, Kim Jong-un suddenly vanishes from the public eye, sparking all these global rumors about his death. And guess who stepped right into the void? Kim Yo-jong. And let me tell you, she did not do it with a smile. The sources neutrally outline a pretty terrifying track record that suddenly emerged into the light. Reports link her to the 2013 execution of their own uncle, reportedly because he didn't clap enthusiastically enough. She's also linked to the 2017 poisoning of her half-brother in Malaysia. And in June 2020, just to punish South Korea, she personally ordered the explosive demolition of the South-North Liaison Office. The propaganda chief was, in reality, an architect of state-sanctioned brutality.
And her language shifted dramatically right alongside those actions. She started issuing highly aggressive personal statements, officially branding North Korean defectors as human scum and threatening them with severe consequences. Plus, sources report that high-ranking state officials were executed simply because they failed to show her immediate absolute respect. At this point, the mask was entirely off.
Let's zoom out a bit for Section 4, Queens of Terror Compared. To truly analyze her unprecedented power, we need to compare her to historical female rulers and dictators. History certainly gives us figures like China's Empress Wu Zetian in the 7th century or Queen Mary Tudor of Europe, women who ruthlessly eliminated rivals and wielded terrifying, absolute power over their subjects. But here's the catch. Those historical queens only had archaic weapons. Kim Yo-jong has all of their absolute power, plus complete control over state propaganda, and something those historical figures could never have even imagined.
What sets Kim Yo-jong uniquely apart from literally any historical queen or female leader is her environment. She operates at the absolute top of a completely closed dictatorial society, and she has direct access to a modern nuclear arsenal. The source material highlights that she's now widely considered a co-dictator. Think about it. We have never in the history of the world seen a female leader with the authority to issue nuclear threats to global superpowers. Until now.
And finally, Section 5, a nuclear successor.
This brings us to probably the most pressing application of this information for global security today. This number, 40, is incredibly significant. Recently, Kim Yo-jong has personally issued at least 40 official state statements. In the strict, rigid hierarchy of North Korea, issuing decrees and foreign policy statements is a massive projection of absolute power. That was something previously reserved exclusively for the supreme leader himself. This signifies that she is definitely no longer just an advisor. She's acting as the definitive mouthpiece of the entire state.
And here is why all of this matters so much right now. According to former North Korean diplomat Faye Young-ho, if Kim Jong-un were to suddenly die or become incapacitated today, the regime's own rules dictate that she would inevitably take over. Why? Because there is currently no mature male heir available in the bloodline to take the throne. The pathway to supreme leadership is completely 100% clear for her. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a final, rather provocative thought based on the evidence we've covered today. If a woman who routinely orders buildings blown up and reportedly executes officials for minor slights takes total control, is the world actually ready for its first female dictator with nuclear codes? Is her current ruthlessness the absolute peak of her power? Or is it just the beginning of a terrifying new chapter in history? Thanks so much for joining me to unpack this source material, and remember, always keep questioning the facades you see on the global stage.